Hello everyone, I'm Brior and welcome back to Goodgame Empire. Today's video is going to be another entry in my audio-only series. I will film some gameplay and put it up on the screen now, but I'd invite you to play the game yourself in another tab while you listen to this video. There won't be any important information on the screen, and the gameplay won't necessarily be related to what I'm talking about. In today's video, it's my aim to ask and answer one simple question. Can Goodgame Empire be described as a pay-to-win game? This video was inspired in no small part by a message that I recently read on the forums. It was written by a player on the US1 server by the name of Hiding From You, and it was sent to the Goodgame Studios support team. In the letter, Hiding From You asks the support team to delete his account and explains why he feels this way. And I quote, "I'm quitting in protest of the miserable changes Goodgame Empire has made with regards to skips that effectively punish everyone except for people like myself. I have finished building. You've not only cemented the power of people at the top like me, you've made starting the game like climbing Mount Everest, nearly impossible and, unlike that feat of physical stamina and mental endurance, utterly and endlessly boring. Your game is not only outdated, not only worthless, it actively damages people's lives. For example, in your monthly event, you have an 18-hour double time booster rather than, say, 3 6-hour boosters. So you're actively encouraging people to sit down for very long periods of time, an inactive state that has been scientifically proven to hasten aging, cause cancer, and generally shorten people's lives. Second, you've made miserable mechanics of gameplay, probably the worst ever developed. For example, we have to spend hours just pressing buttons to delete worthless equipment we loot from NPC towers. What a waste of time. We're not doing anything but clicking sell. Yes, sell. What moron made this system? Why don't you have a delete all non-unique button, or a delete all gems under level 4 button? I hate your system. It's stolen hours from my life doing worthless, petty, repetitive actions that probably contributed to my future heart disease. Third, all your events are the same. Go into the attack menu, do simple math in choosing how many ladders, rams, and ranged production to use, and send. Repeat. Repeat again. Repeat more until your eyes bleed and you get carpal tunnel syndrome. A chicken, the avian, would find this game interesting, but we are human beings with minds that just want more. Why do you think you have botters? Because the computer plays the boring parts of the game, while the person gets to do the only part of Goodgame Empire that is interesting, that will ever be interesting, and that is interaction with other people. So delete my account, please. I hate your tedious and boring game, hate every last possible part of it. If I had a magic wand, I'd erase your entire company while making all your non-dev staff compensated and wealthy, because they aren't at fault, and very likely work quite hard. But your devs, they wouldn't get off so easily. Thank you, and all the best, Hiding." Coincidentally, Goodgame Studios' support team will no longer delete people's accounts for them, and Hiding From You is still playing. So while this letter may be rather melodramatic, it does contain a powerful sentiment that resonated with other users on the forums. As you could probably tell, the letter was written at just about the time when Goodgame Studios largely removed 24-hour and 5-hour skips from the game. You can still get them, of course, as part of Ruby offers, and you can, on an incredibly rare basis, loot them from your NPC towers, but us players do not get them like we used to from the event rewards, and that means things suddenly got a lot harder for low-level players. We'll talk about this specific update and Hiding From You's letter again in a few moments, but first I'd like to return to the question that I asked at the beginning of this video, and that is, can Goodgame Empire be accurately described as a pay-to-win game? This is a troublesome question, in no small part because the term pay-to-win is something that means different things to different people. Some people believe that any game where you can pay real money to get an advantage is a pay-to-win game. If this were to be the case, then the answer to our question would be an enthusiastic yes. After all, in Goodgame Empire there are lots of things that you can buy. including rubies, time skips, troops, tools, event boosters, seasonal point boosters, equipment, lucky pennies, experience, VIP points, VIP time, glory boosters, currency boosters, specialists, and resources. And just a few months ago, the developers added the ability to pay a monthly subscription fee for the game. In my personal opinion, there are an insane number of ways where you can pay to get ahead in Goodgame Empire, but this alone, in my opinion, does not make Goodgame Empire a pay-to-win game. For that would need a little bit more. When you begin to play a free-to-play browser game like Goodgame Empire, you should do so with the expectation that it will be possible for others to pay money to get ahead of you. Of course, Goodgame Empire is an online game, and it costs money to maintain the servers. It also costs money to employ the people who continue coming up with new updates for us. With that being said, I have very little doubt that Goodgame Empire is making more than enough money for Goodgame Studios to keep it in business. Just a few years ago, the game surpassed 500 million in total sales. I also think that most new players wouldn't expect that it would be possible for others to buy such an advantage so often. As we are all probably painfully aware, there are many offers always running in Goodgame Empire. Recently, it's been quite egregious, sometimes with up to 5 offers available at the same time. However, the question that is fundamentally more interesting to me is as follows. Has Goodgame Studios intentionally designed the game in such a way as to be annoying and/or intolerable to free-to-play players? Are the game's events designed to annoy the user into pulling out his or her credit card? We all know that Goodgame Studios gives advantages to Ruby players, as well they should, it's their business model. And it could be argued that this makes the game harder for free-to-play players, and therefore less enjoyable. I think that might be true, but it also might not be, as I know that as a free-to-play player, whenever I destroy a Ruby player, there's a certain level of satisfaction that comes along with it. I've played the game for probably around 7 years, and in that time, I would estimate I've spent maybe $150. So I'm not totally free-to-play, but I'm certainly not a big spender either. Anyways, what I think would make the game really unenjoyable for free-to-play players is if Goodgame Studios, as I said earlier, was designing it in such a way as to be unenjoyable. Many of the same players who complain that Goodgame Empire is pay-to-win will also complain that the game was better all those years ago. So let's take a look. Let's investigate as to whether Goodgame Empire's old events were designed in a different and perhaps better way to its new events. Let's first talk about the Blade Coast and the Thorn Kingdom, 2 events that are really the same thing, they just have different art. These events strike me as being remarkably fair for all players. First and foremost, it's not possible to use your own commanders when you go into one of these events. You use a blank commander. I forget if it doesn't have any stats at all, or if it just has really weak base stats. But the point is, your existing commanders, maybe the ones that you've bought, won't be helping you during this event. All players start on equal footing. If I remember correctly, you are also not able to send yourself resources from your other castles. This feature is once again friendly to weaker or lower level players. There are a few different ways that you can use rubies to get ahead in the event. You can use rubies to bypass camp cooldowns, but I don't think that many players did that. You could also use rubies to make it so that your attack moved more quickly toward the target. Rubies could also be used as a substitute for wood and stone, which players would need to spend to repair the bridges in the event. And finally, I think the biggest use of rubies was on mid-level ruby tools. Of course, because you couldn't use your own equipment in this event, which might come with wall reduction, for example, the camps that you had to attack required quite a few tools, and many players resorted to spending ruby tools to power through them. However, I do not believe that rubies played as big of a role in those 2 events as they do today during the Bloodcrow invasion. And besides, the Thorn Kingdom actually offered some rewards that were previously only available to ruby players. For example, it's possible to buy a Castellan look through the Thorn Kingdom. Now let's take a peek at all of the ways in which you can spend rubies and/or real money to get ahead during the Bloodcrow invasion. This event has been around for a while, and of course it is a copy of the foreign invasion, which I would consider a pretty old event, but this event has been recently updated. Big spenders can buy glory boosters, and they can also spend rubies to simply increase the number of troops in all of their target castles, and of course, when the number of troops goes up, so does the glory. Players have also spent hundreds of thousands of rubies on the coat of arms symbols they proudly display during this event. The bear symbol, which increases the glory you can earn by 40%, can be had for the reasonable price of 196,000 rubies. To be fair, not everything about this event is in fact pay to win. Horsetail standards are a good example of this. These are powerful tools that can be bought in the game and not for the premium currency or for money. When we look at the Blade Coast, we'll see that the primary objective was to defeat the Kraken, and then collect pearls if you wanted extra rewards from the shop. All players could do this. The same is not true for the Bloodcrow Invasion. When you take a look at how many points are required to get the event's best rewards, and even when you take a look at the top 100 rankings, I think you'll be forced to conclude that this is a pay-to-win event. Sure, is it technically possible to get 10 million glory points without spending any money? I think so, yes, but it's not possible to get the 80 or 90 million glory points that are required to outright win the event. I think even newer events like the Shapeshifter Invasion are perhaps the biggest offenders when it comes to a pay-to-win business model. During the Shapeshifter Invasion, it's possible to buy extra attack runes, and it's also possible to buy 2 different kinds of booster currencies. However, you could make the argument that the Shapeshifter Invasion allows free-to-play players to get one of the strongest commanders in the game, and you'd be right. However, it took most players, myself included, the better part of a year to even get 1 copy of the Master Summoner. What's so interesting to me about the Shapeshifter Invasion and the Bloodcrow Invasion is not that Ruby players have so many ways of getting ahead, but rather the grind that is involved for all other players. As I just said, it took me months and months to get the Master Summoner, and I'm mostly a free-to-play player. Ruby players have too many ways of bypassing that grind, and it feels like the grind is there just for the purposes of frustrating free-to-play players like myself. I think the latest update to the Bloodcrow Invasion is perhaps an even better example. Goodgame Studios has acknowledged that the Bloodcrow Invader castles are too weak, and it's too much of a grind for players to power their way through them. So what have they done? Well, they've given Ruby players the option just to reinforce their castles and to bypass that grind entirely. Now, free-to-play players have benefited a little bit as well. They've been given the option to exile their castles by spending regular in-game currencies, but a grind is still involved, and I think that kind of sucks. The Bloodcrow Invader targets are of course designed to simulate real players. The problem is the event was introduced years and years ago based off of real players that were much weaker than real players are today. I think the appropriate solution would just have been for Goodgame Studios to look at real players today and rebalance the Bloodcrow Invaders appropriately. In summary, Goodgame Studios recognized that there was a problem with the Bloodcrow Invasion. There was too much of a grind. But instead of solving this problem in a straightforward way that would have been fair and balanced for everybody, they simply gave Ruby players the option to get even farther ahead. Now we have Ruby players who are racking up 90 million plus glory points when the Foreign Invasion or the Bloodcrow Invasions are around. The bottom line is this. Goodgame Empire is a consistently updated browser game, and the balance between free-to-play players and Ruby players is always being finely tuned and adjusted by Goodgame Studios. It's possible to play Goodgame Empire as a free-to-play player and have a lot of fun, and occasionally even get the upper hand on Ruby buyers. However, sometimes big updates the developers make, such as taking away the time skips, which we talked about near the beginning of this video, and or taking away the Wishing Well and the Wishing Well coins really affect that balance, I think, for the worse. At the current moment, I think Goodgame Studios favors Ruby buyers too much. I think that's especially true for players who have thousands of dollars to dump into the game. For example, I checked just a few days ago, and several people on the US1 server are already just about completely done with their private resource villages. These are active, high-level players who have already dropped all of their public resource villages, which can only mean one thing. They've spent enough money to entirely bypass a new feature in the game. I don't think that should be possible. Goodgame Empire has always been the kind of game to demand a lot of time, perhaps an even unhealthy amount of time, from any free-to-play player who wants to remain caught up. The balance between Ruby players and free-to-play players in the game is not completely absurd right now, but it's trending that way. Goodgame Studios' introduction of the subscription feature, I thought, was a bit of a slap in the face. With the rush to dragons and desert fortresses being even more competitive than ever before, and with Goodgame Studios lowering the amount of rubies that players can loot from certain NPC targets, I think we need more and more diverse ways of collecting rubies for free in the game. I'd like to wrap up this video with some free advice for Goodgame Studios should they happen to be listening. Perhaps it's naive of me to think that they would listen to 15 straight minutes of criticism of their business model, but if they've done so, that's to their credit. I genuinely believe that most players, myself included, understand that Goodgame Studios is a business, and that Goodgame Empire is something that should and will make money. Many players rag on Goodgame Studios constantly on the forums, and of course sometimes I like to complain in my videos, but the fact is that Goodgame Studios developed Goodgame Empire, which is a game that we are all more or less passionate about. Some of us are even passionate enough about it to start up a YouTube channel. Anyways, here's my advice. Goodgame Studios, please do not make it possible for massive Ruby spenders to completely bypass all of the work that goes into a new feature, such as happened with the private resource villages. Stop adding 5 new kinds of currency with every update to the game, and if you're going to give Ruby players an opportunity to get ahead, make it straightforward and simple. Give free-to-play players the opportunity to buy things that are currently only available in Ruby offers. For example, to my knowledge, there is no way for free-to-play players to purchase a personal glory boost. Rather than focusing on how you can monetize each new feature, focus first and foremost on how you can make it fun. Invent new game mechanics when possible. Keep the game interesting, because if you don't, players will stop playing, and when they stop playing, they'll stop paying as well. And there you have it. That's some advice from a player and not a shareholder, and it's up to you as to whether or not you act on it. If you are Goodgame Studios, I think the answer is no, but for the rest of you, I hope you enjoyed today's video. As always, I've been Brior, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again next time. Also, if you enjoyed the audio-only format, I have plenty of other videos just like this one, so check out the link in the description.